We have Todd Waters, also known as the Chiropractor, calling from Midland, Michigan. Todd, welcome to Lux TV.
Hey there.
Yeah, so let's get straight to it. Where did you get your nickname, the Chiropractor?
I'm an antique dealer. My family were always antique dealers, and so I took my passion for collecting antiques and started collecting chiropractic antiques now, and finding little treasures here and there to bring back to you guys.
Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah. So, and then what actually got you inspired to kind of look into chiropractic, or what brought you to chiropractic?
I found some really old B.J. Palmer recordings, and I'm a record collector, so I'm always picking up spoken word records. Anyway, these were actual speeches from B.J. Palmer from 1931, and my chiropractor found out about them, so I went to his office, and he has a whole B.J. Palmer mansion museum, basically. You know, I mean, his office is a whole museum.
Yeah.
Of B.J. Palmer. And anyway, he started showing me all his cool treasures, and he was so excited about chiropractic, and you could tell he loved it, you know. And so that really just that stuck with me, you know. And so it just kind of made me want to start seeing what I could find, you know, what more I could find.
Yeah.
And the first thing he showed me was, and this really got my attention. Do you know what this is?
It looks like is it a neurocalometer?
Yeah, this is the very first model of a neurocalometer.
Oh, wow.
This is the first thing he showed me. This isn't his. I had to find my own after years and years of searching. And I'm refurbishing this one, so it's not perfect. But anyway, this right here is the certificate that shows that this is property of Palmer College. You couldn't own one of these. You had to lease it for 10 years.
Oh, wow.
It was very expensive. And you couldn't open it yourself. You couldn't repair it. You had to get it serviced through them.
Of course.
And so it looks like this one has been reserviced a few times, actually, and a little modified. But I was fascinated with this thing. You know, what is it? You know, and this thing actually is very historical in chiropractic because BJ almost lost his school over it, basically. And we can talk about that later, but it's a very important device. I wouldn't ever belittle it, but it caused a lot of problems.
Yeah. Yeah, one of the definitely another one of the moments that BJ did to kind of divide the profession in half. But you know, so I mean, it's always been happening. You know, like people always are like, oh, why can't the profession unite? But it's always been controversial, and you know, because I mean, definitely with chiropractors, everyone's super opinionated. So
oh yeah,
it's almost difficult to even recognize you without the full beard, because I love some of the videos that you had posted of some of the promos and stuff like that. It's awesome. So I'll definitely put some links in below so some people can check out the entire costume, which is pretty dead on. If I would grow a full beard, but I can't because I'm Asian. so yeah, I mean, not only do you collect and find some amazing chiropractic antiques and some historical stuff, but you also are a book writer, which is amazing. Yeah. So could you tell me what the title of your one of your books called Chasing Dee? What does that mean?
Well, it feels like I'm always chasing Dee because I'm always trying to find out why did he go to California? I mean, what was he doing there? Why did he leave his school and his practice and everything, and just took everything he owned and went to California? You know, that didn't make sense to me. And there was a few different historians wrote some different things about that, and it still just didn't add up to me, you know. So I wanted to find out for myself. So I'm always going from state to state to all the different states he went to find any paper trail. And that paper trail became my book, basically. And this is it right here. And basically, yeah, I just felt like I was always chasing him from state to state. And now you can chase him too, you know, if you know, take a look, basically follow his paper trail.
Yeah.
Because the newspapers did a really good job. The newspapers were like the Facebook of back then, you know. D.D. Palmer is going out of town this week to visit family or whatever, you know. I mean, it's scary how much information they posted about personal information that they posted about people, week to week. And we're lucky they did, because we've got about 500 pages here of stuff you won't find in the green books. So it's kind of the other side of the story, really.
Yeah. Yeah, because I know that he went down to Oklahoma, which is where I'm from, if you can't tell.
Oh.
Yeah. So, like, is there any pieces in there about Oklahoma?
Yeah, not a whole lot. He was there for maybe a year and a half, a year, and his brother lived there, and his brother owned a newspaper there, and so that's probably why he went there. But he opened up a grocery store, and his brother owned the paper, and then there was some chiropractic colleges there, and Didi didn't like to be out of the action. He was the founder. He didn't want to give up that title, or he didn't want to give it up. So he got with some cats and started a school there, and that didn't work out. And Didi wasn't very easy to get along with. You get that from everything you read. He seems like a really cool guy, a genius, but working with him just seemed impossible, So he never stuck with any partner very long. And so you can almost kind of understand the friction between he and BJ, because they were both geniuses, and they both had their own ideas of how they wanted things done. So they just kind of did this a lot,
Oh, absolutely.
But I didn't start out trying to write books, but as I was collecting these treasures, I wanted to know the story behind each one. And the first thing I wanted to do was find an advertisement for Didi Palmer's farm. He was a bee farmer, and he grew raspberry plants. And I wanted to find any kind of advertisement or any kind of trace of that whatsoever. So I started looking in these bee magazines. This is a bee journal from 1881. And this is basically how the bee farmers communicated with each other and told about all my bees are dying, or my bees are doing great this year, or whatever. This is how they all kind of taught each other their tricks and how to keep their bees alive, because they were having some really bad winters, really cold. So the bees wouldn't survive over the winters. So that was a big problem for Didi. He had a really great year of selling honey in 1878. That was his best year. I mean, he was on top of the world. But that winter just was so brutally cold, it just wiped out all his bees. And the next winter, and finally, I think he just said, "You know what? I got to do something else, because this, I got to eat here, Yeah. But anyway, this ad I found. This is really cool. This is the actual ad he used when he was ready to leave and sell his farm and do something else. You see that? Farm for sale?
Yeah.
Didi Palmer. And it's cool because it says 290 acres, and it kind of actually describes his house a little bit, and it gives the measurements, and it was only $2,000. I mean, that's awesome, because if, what would have happened if he hadn't sold his farm, like what if he would have stuck it out and kept being a bee farmer? Yeah. I mean, would he have even entered healing or chiropractic or anything, So it's just cool to find all these little pieces of the puzzle, and try to make some sense of it, Yeah. And I started looking in that more of these newspapers here, and he actually wrote long articles too, and he actually got into disputes with other bee farmers too, so he was always doing this with people, I mean, and he loved correcting people when he thought they were wrong, so there's a lot of drama, just even in those articles. And I put this book together, and this book is writings, all his basically lost writings from the 1870s, his whole bee farming career, basically, it's all in here, and this was a period of time we knew like about that much of, and so found out that his first wife was a psychic medium. We wanted to know when he started magnetic healing, who inspired him to get into the spiritualism and magnetic healing. Well, his wife was a spiritualist, so basically, I don't think we have to look too far. But I found out through the bee journals that a lot of the other bee farmers were also spiritualists too, so they were everywhere.
Yeah.
You know, found out that he had a little boy, and it wasn't BJ, it was somebody else. So this boy, he called him Honey because he loved honey so much. So he's kind of a mystery. We don't know really what happened to him unless he was who we know as Frank now. So there's a lot of mysteries, of mysteries in the Palmer saga. You know?
Yeah, you know, and that's great that that you're you know, like you took the time to, you know, to chase Dee Dee, to find some of the lost writings, because, you know, everybody, you know, as soon as they think of you know, the chiropractic green book and stuff like that, they immediately just go straight for BJ and always talk about BJ this, BJ that, but give no credit to the founder, you know, to Dee Dee, and you know, and go through his history and so forth like that. So that's awesome. So, you know, and speaking about highlighting chiropractic characters and figures of the profession, you also published a book about Mabel. So what inspired you to publish that book?
Well, we don't really know a lot about Mabel. And it's weird because she was married to BJ for all those years.
Yeah.
And she really was a big part of the Palmer School of Chiropractic, all the stages of developments of chiropractic and all the struggles and all the grief BJ went through. Yet all our history books probably just give her a brief mention. You know, I'm sure she contributed a lot more to chiropractic than, you know, this much. So I wanted to find out as much as I could about her, but it's hard because nobody has really written about her. So I had to do the same thing, go to the newspapers. And the newspapers, Davenport loved her. In fact, they didn't have to call her Mabel Palmer. They just called her by her first name, in quotes, Mabel, because the town knew her and they loved her. And when they would go on trips, thousands of people would come and meet them at the train station and carry them from the train to their car. I mean, they loved the Palmers, you know. And the Palmers did a lot for Davenport. They were big supporters of the community and a big booster for Davenport and brought a lot of money to Davenport. And the town loved them for that. And Mabel was really involved in a lot of women's clubs. She did a lot of service work and charity work. And that's something that we don't really know a lot about. But she did about as much as that as she did for chiropractic. She was always serving. And in the book, I put together a list of all the organizations she was in because I just wanted to show how busy this woman was. And I don't know if you can see that.
Yeah.
Okay. She was in the Eastern Star, which was a Masonic branch for women.
Yeah.
And Lend a Hand Club, which was like a YMCA for the town.
Okay.
And what is this? Oh, this was her sorority she started. And the Quota Club, she was the president of that for a year. I mean, that's a big deal, you know. And Daughters of the American Revolution, Daughters of the Nile, Davenport Chamber of Commerce, of course, the radio station, WOC, WHO, and of course, Palmer School. I mean, she was everywhere, you know, and a lot of these clubs for women, they did a lot for poor women and kind of gave them a helping hand, you know, and gave them some encouragement, you know, something to strive for in life. And I'm sure Mabel recruited a lot of those women into the PSC. So she was actually a magnet for that school as far as getting new students in. So she contributed a lot to chiropractic, and we just don't give her the time of day, really, you know. But through these newspaper articles, luckily I was able to find like this much on her.
Oh, wow.
So and you won't find this in Green Books. BJ hardly wrote about her at all, and the other history books, they hardly mention her either. Even Healing Hands, which is about the Palmer story, they don't mention her. Why? It just kind of feels like she was really protected. Like her history is just really kind of tucked away, and it doesn't make sense to me. But anyway, this will give people a little glimpse of who she was and what she believed in, and just a lot of the work she did.
Oh yeah, that's amazing. And thank you, Todd, for all of your hard work, because I know it's not easy to be able to find these things, and and it's amazing that you were able to capture all of this and put it in a book, so that students like at my school, or that probably would have never even thought about diving into some amazing history of chiropractic, it's all there for us. So thank you so much.